right, folks. Very much looking forward to our final speaker this morning. She is the founder of the American Congress for Truth and ACT, ACT, for America, a citizen action network that promotes national security and the defense of American democratic values against the assault of radical Islam. This is more than just book knowledge or research that she has done. She knows firsthand, as she and her family were victims in Lebanon of vicious attacks from radical Islamists. She's the author of 2 books, Because They Hate, and They Must Be Stopped, Why We Must Defeat Radical Islam and How We Can Do It. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Brigitte Gabriel.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps deeper.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. What an honor to be here this morning. What a great gathering. People ask me all the time, Brigitte, don't you get depressed talking about national security and terrorism and radical Islam? And I say, of course I do. I'm a human like everybody else. But you know what keeps me so energized is when I travel our amazing nation and I meet people like you who burn with love for this country. I am proud and honored to be standing here with you today on such a time in our nation's capital. And what a time to be in Washington, D.C. this weekend. What a time when we have witnessed the first beheading on American soil. Who would have thought we're going to live to see this day here in America today? And Islamic terrorism is changing the way we live, is changing the way we travel. And as I'm speaking in my lecture here this morning about Islamic terrorism, I want to make it very clear to members of the press who are here with us this morning. We are talking about radical Islamists who are changing our way of life. We're not talking about the moderates. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Not all of them are crazy radicals. The majority of them are moderates. However, the radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%. And that's according to all the world's intelligence agencies. And the reason why we're concerned is because when you take 15 to 25% out of 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today, you're talking about 180 million to 300 million radical Islamists who are willing to strap bombs on their bodies and walk into this room and blow us all up to smithereens. That's why we're concerned about the radicals. Because it is the radicals who behead. It is the radicals who kill. It is the radicals who are now seeking nuclear weapons so they can blow us up. So why should we be concerned about the radicals? Because when you look throughout history, when you look at the lessons of history, in Germany, not all Germans were Nazis. The majority of Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda, and as a result, 60 million people worldwide died because of the war. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, for example, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet Russia was able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, most Chinese were peaceful. Yet China was able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan, most Japanese were peaceful. Yet Japan was able to kill 12 million people, mostly killed by bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at the United States of America on September 11th, 2001, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took only 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans on that day. That's why we're talking about the radicals. So I hope this message is clear up front to members of the press who are here with us today. America has been attacked under different administrations by radical Islamists. It didn't matter whether we had a Republican or a Democrat in House. The national security issue is an American issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a libertarian issue. It's an American issue. America has been attacked under different presidents since 1979 by radical Islam. America was attacked under the Carter administration, a Democrat, with the hostages in Iran in 1979. America was attacked under Ronald Reagan administration in 1983 in Lebanon with the blowing up of the Marines in Lebanon. He was a Republican. America was attacked under George Bush Sr. administration. America was attacked under the Clinton administration. It was actually under the Clinton administration that the World Trade Center was attacked the first time in 1993. It was also under the Clinton administration that the Taliban trained 10,000 Al-Qaeda members in Afghanistan. Now, these people were not being trained for entertainment. They were being trained to attack the United States of America. At that time, George Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney were not even a blurb on the political American landscape. And then, of course, America was attacked under George Bush in 2001. And people thought if we just elect President Obama, all the world is going to forgive our sins. Everybody's going to come together and sing Kumbaya. Obviously, that did not happen. 2 days after President Obama became president, Al-Qaeda issued a press release saying, "We continue our jihad against the United States, regardless of who lives in the White House." So that's why here we are today, 6 years after President Obama became president. We are not only dealing with ISIS, but we are dealing with different organizations around the world that go by different names, yet all are the same outfit. So whether we are talking about Al-Shabaab in Sudan or Somalia, whether we're talking about Boko Haram in Nigeria, whether we're talking about Lashkar Taibi in India, Ansar al-Sharia in Libya, ISIS in Syria, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Khorasan. This is another group that we only heard about just a couple days ago, trying to target the travel industry. It doesn't matter what outfit they wear. We're talking about the exact same entity dressed in different clothing, committed to attacking us. This is why America must address the issue of radical Islam and how to deal with it. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about the national security issue. And the reason why I'm passionate about the national security issue is because my past will be your future unless America wakes up. Because I am a survivor of Islamic terrorism. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975 in Lebanon, when radical Islamists blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble wounded as they shouted Allahu Akbar. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months, going from one surgery to another. And I would ask my father, why did they do this to us? And my father would tell me, because we are Christians, the Muslims consider us infidels and they want to kill us. So I learned since I was a 10-year-old little girl that I am wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith and lived in a Christian town. I had to leave the hospital. But my home, when I went back home, was no longer the home I left. I ended up living in a bomb shelter, underground with my parents, in an 8-by-10 room, without electricity, without water, and very little food. To get some food, we would crawl under the bombs and dig out different dandelions and different vegetation that grew around our bomb shelter because it was the only greenery we had to eat. To get some water, we would crawl under snipers' bullets in a ditch to get some water because we were surrounded by Islamic snipers waiting to kill us. And every time before we left our bomb shelter to get water, my parents and I would say our last goodbyes because we did not know if we're going to come back alive or dead just to get a drink of water. This became my existence. I lived in that bomb shelter like this from the age of 10 till the age of 17, robbed of my youth. When we first went into the bomb shelter, I remember my father would say, the world Christian powers are going to come and see what's happening to the Christians in Lebanon, how we are being massacred by the radical Islamists. We waited and nobody came. And my daddy would say, America's going to come. Australia's going to come. England is going to come. Canada's going to come. And nobody came. I remember 3 years into our ordeal, I was living in the bomb shelter. A friend of ours stopped by and he said, Brigitte, I just want you to know that we heard on the radios tonight that we're going to be attacked. And he said, if I don't see you tomorrow, I want to wish you a merciful death. And he left. And I remember dressing in my Sunday best, my Easter dress, because I wanted to look pretty when I am dead, knowing that when they come to slaughter me, there would be no one to bury me. And I remember sobbing as my mother combed my long black hair down to my hips, as I begged her, I don't want to die. I'm only 13 years old. Please, I don't want to die. And there was nothing my mother could say to me. And we sat in the corner of our bomb shelter, and my daddy started reading from Psalms. I shall walk into the valley of death and fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thank God we did not die that night, because that's the night when Israel came in physically into Lebanon and kicked out the radical Islamists away from our town. And set up bases on the hills surrounding our town so we can stay alive. And they continued protecting us. I lived in the security zone. And we went on living like this for another 5 years until 1982, when Israel came all the way into Lebanon, working with the Christians, trying to help the Christians to kick out the radical Islamic element out of the country and help the Christians take back their democracy and protect their nation. We came out of the bomb shelter and back to rebuilding our lives. I ended up moving to Jerusalem and becoming news anchor for World News, reporting on world events, speaking night after night. And as I reported on the news, I realized no matter where the terrorist activity was taking place, and that was in the 80s, from 1984 till 1989, when we started seeing a true rise of Islamic terrorism around the world. No matter where the terrorist activity took place, the name of the perpetrators were always Islamist. Ahmed, Muhammad, Hussein, Ali. The name of the victims were always Westerners, Christians and Jews. Terry Waite, Terry Anderson, Colonel Higgins, the Achille Lauro, the TWA, the Panam flights. And I can go on and on. As a matter of fact, in my first book titled Because They Hate, I list pages upon pages of terrorist attacks against America and the West, where America hit the snooze button and went back to sleep. And I learned very quickly that what I used to think was a regional problem between a majority Muslim Middle East trying to either kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem. But the world was not connecting the dots. The world did not understand what we were dealing with. The world lacked imagination. And isn't this exactly what the 9/11 Commission report said to us? We lacked imagination. It's not that we did not know that radical Islamists wanted to attack the United States. After all, they have attacked us. Al-Qaeda attacked us in 1993, the first bombing on the World Trade Center. They attacked the Kubar Towers in 1995. They attacked our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1997. They attacked the USS Cole in 2000. And then they were so confident that we were so asleep that they came back and re-attacked the World Trade Center the second time, this time bringing the buildings down and killing almost 3,000 Americans. It's not that we did not know we are faced with an enemy. It's that we decided to ignore the problem because the problem was so difficult to tackle or to deal with. We thought if we ignore it, it will disappear on its own. And look where we are today. Today we are dealing with the cancer of Islamic barbarism rising worldwide. Beheadings on the streets of England. Remember the soldiers that they beheaded in broad daylight? Beheadings in the United States while the guy is screaming verses from the Quran, quoting verses from the Quran on his Facebook. We are dealing with a problem rising worldwide that we can no longer ignore, that we must take action on. But why should we be concerned? Why it is vital to take action? Because like I said earlier, whether today we're talking about ISIS or Khorasan, which is the name du jour now that you hear on television all the time, it doesn't matter what terrorist organization we're talking about. We are talking about people that share the same ideology, operating out of the same manual, follow the same doctrine, whether they are black in Nigeria, whether they are white in Syria, whether they are the Uyghurs in China, who are the Islamists rising in China. By the way, Islam is the fastest rising religion in China right now. This is the problem we need to be concerned about. The Islamic radicals wrote a plan in 1982. At that time, the plan was written by the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the oldest Islamic terrorist organization in the world with 70 offshoot Islamic organizations. The plan is a 100-year plan for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. In the counterterrorism circles, this plan became known as the Project. What makes the Project unique is it gives tactics and proposals as to how to infiltrate the West, how to use our open-mindedness against us, our laws against us, our multiculturalism and diversity against us. They talk about how to get democratically elected Muslims on all levels in the West to influence policy. They talk about how to get Muslim interns in governmental offices in the West so they can have an insider view as to how policy is done on the highest levels. They talk about how to set up non-profit organizations and human rights organizations and maintain the appearance of moderation so they can advance the radical Islamic agenda in the West. When the plan began being implemented in 1982, remember it was written in Europe. From 1982 till now, Europe have morphed from Europe to Eurabia. So why should we be concerned in the United States? Because they wrote a plan for the destruction of the United States. Here is the plan. It's titled مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام للجماعة في أمريكا الشمالية. You all got that? There will be a quiz, you know. The plan is titled An Explanatory Memorandum on the General Strategic Goal for the Group in North America, written 9/22/1991. And I'm just going to read you one paragraph about their goal for the United States. This paragraph says, understanding the role of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Do they mince words? No. Are they very clear about their objective? Yes, they are. We need to get our head out of the sand, identify the problem, and throw political correctness in the garbage where it belongs. We need to challenge our leaders to develop a backbone and say what needs to be said for the safety of our country. We have an administration that is blind to terror, ignorant of terror, appeasing terror, bending backward and forward, catering to terrorists, inviting terrorists to the White House, catering to them, listening to them. And this needs to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if the American public rises up and demands better from our government. I launched an organization called Act for America. ActForAmerica.org is now the largest national security organization in the United States with 280,000 members and 890 chapters nationwide. Our goal is to light a fire under our elected officials to make sure they protect the country. We have passed 35 bills in 17 states in the last 5 years regarding national security. We are looking for chapter leaders nationwide. We are looking for members nationwide. We are building the NRA of national security, and I need your help to join us. We're passing bills in different states. We want to be able to reach you when there's a bill coming down for a vote so you can make your voice heard. The only way we can reach you is via email. We're working on bills regarding education, regarding security, regarding profiling, so many different bills. We're going to have a book signing when I am done. I already see the countdown. But at the end, when I'm signing books, I want you all to give me the honor and privilege of shaking your hand, and then we're going to have sheets. If you want to receive our emails and action alerts, you can sign up for that. You can sign up to lead a chapter. You can sign up to join a chapter. We need Americans to wake up and participate in changing our government and protecting the nation. What makes us so different than any other country in the world is we have spunk. We have a spirit that is different than any other country in the world. That's what made America great. And while I am on my final note, I would like to honor all our veterans who are in the audience. All our veterans, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Please remain standing. I have a message for you. And I promise it'll take only 1 minute. I see the zeros. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart as an immigrant who came to this country for building a nation for me where I can come and be all I can be as an American, where I can exercise my freedom of religion, my freedom of speech, my freedom of the press, and every other freedom I have, because I know my freedom is built upon your shoulders and your sacrifice. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for every meal you missed, for every family occasion you missed serving our country so we can enjoy getting together on our barbecues with our family. You are not only my heroes, but you are the heroes of millions of Americans who are unable to stand before you here today, and thank you for your sacrifice. On their behalf, I thank you. And I thank you on behalf of the millions of people around the world who will never have the opportunity and privilege to make it to America, the land of the dreams. On their behalf, who are still stuck under tyranny, waiting for people like you, wishing they have a military like you. On their behalf, I thank you. And I vow to you that I am building an organization with Act for America that will always honor you, that will always praise you, that will always sing of your sacrifice, that will see to it that we teach our young generation just where their freedom comes from and whose shoulders their freedom is built upon. May God bless you one and all. May God bless our country. I look forward to seeing you outside. God bless.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.